The event of the year is coming, and you can't wait to attend. The invitations are turning up, and all your friends are getting them, and they're so excited. You check your locker, your mailbox, your emails, your texts, and nothing. No invite. The event gets closer and closer, and what started out as excitement is starting to move to worry and resentment. Everyone is talking about what they're going to wear, where they are going to eat, where the after party will be, and most important of all, where they are going to meet for the photo shoot with their friends before the event. Excitement amongst your friends is reaching a crescendo, and you are still waiting. Even up until the day of the event, you're holding out hope that you will be able to attend the event that you feel is the event of the year. But the invite never comes. What do? Stay home and binge watch Stranger Things again? Just show up to the event basically crashing the party? Or maybe even worse, pull one of those crazy horror movie stunts and make them all pay for not having you be invited. Your parents have seen your pain and offer you an alternative to the event, but you have made up your mind. Staying with the parents is a drag and boring. You are going to the party no matter what. You even have the nerve to ask the parents for an advance on your allowance to get just the right outfit for the affair. Now, I know this is just an example of an over-exaggerated circumstance, but I imagine each of you quickly thought of a time you felt you were missing out on something. That thing that looks so good, you must do that thing no matter what. Staying here isn't cutting it. I need to do that no matter what, even if I am not invited. Last week, we delved into Jesus and his telling of parables. One of the cool things about the parables is that we can see ourselves sometimes in the story. The circumstances may be different, but the points hit a chord of relevance to you. Have you ever heard a sermon the pastor or even the youth guy like me has taught, and you immediately think, man, that dude is talking about me? How did he know? That is the power of the storyteller and the story, or in this case, the parable. They have a way of hitting you in the feels, and this makes you think. Hopefully to move you in a course change for the better. One of my favorite parables, a lot of you know, and it will sound a lot like the parable I started our lesson with. Yes, I actually taught a parable about parables, ensuring the multiverse is real. Whatever that means. I also want to go about this lesson a little different. I am not going to read the Bible story, but I want to tell this story out myself. But if you want the reference for the passage, it is in Luke 15:11 through 32. And we know this parable as the prodigal son. Our story starts off in a rural area of Asgard. Is about a father and his two sons. Now the father owned a large plot of land. He put a farm on it. And this plot of land the father owned was worth a bit of money. He had a bunch of servants and a bunch of animals. A true Asgardian cattle ranch. Now, the two brothers both also worked on the farm. But personality-wise, they were very, very different. So let's take a closer look at the younger brother of the two. Now, even though he worked on the farm, he really didn't see himself as a farmer so much. He had visions of living in the big city. He wanted to live his own life, his way. So he decided he wants to head out to the city, but he needed some help to do that. So the younger son went to the father and asked for his share of the inheritance. Dad, I need some money, and I need it now. Now, you must know that this is highly unusual. To get your inheritance before the person you were to get the inheritance from actually dies. And to supersede the older son, the firstborn was the highest class of this doesn't happen sort of stuff. But the younger son, the secondborn, is an impatient man. And the big city is calling his name. He wasn't waiting for an invitation here. The father, out of love for his son, decides, okay, and he gives the younger son half of his money. He gives his youngest son his share of the inheritance. As soon as the second son got his money, he raised up two fingers. Shwoop! Peace! I'm out. And with that, the younger son is off to the big city, and he is heading to party. When the younger hits the high life of the city, the dude immediately lets his hair down and begins to party like it's 1999. Oh, wait. That's an older reference, like it's 2059, okay? That's what they're partying like. Dude was partying. He paid for new suits, high-dollar skins, bought drinks for the house. You know, some Sonic Route 44 cherry limeades. He was spending money like water, and dude ain't got no J-O-B, if you catch my drift. And as all of us who spend like this, my man, well, he went broke. All the time the younger was out partying and spending his inheritance, he was oblivious to what was happening around him. But when he was broke out and trying to survive by finding some kind of work, he realized that a great famine and drought was taking place at the same time. Imagine, no money, no job, not even prospects of jobs. The younger bro is feeling the pain and is growing more and more desperate. You guys think job hunting is hard now, especially when Chick-fil-A ain't even hiring good church kids? Because work is all dried up. These, my friends, are hard times. But things start to look up for our young man. He does find a job, on a farm even, tending to pigs. Now, it's a dirty job, and the pay stinks, but it's a job, right? Well, not so much. Dude is basically living with the pigs. And the pay is so bad, my man is eyeballing the pig slop as a gourmet meal. I think it's about this time when the younger son realizes he needs to chuck the rotten lettuce the pig was about to eat and move on to more drastic things. or he is probably going to die. So he decides to do the one thing he probably swore he would never, ever do again. Go home. He even would become a servant on his father's farm and move into the servants' quarters if he had to. The younger grabs his stuff, maybe a couple of the cleaner carrots out of the pig's trough, and must take that excruciating first step towards home. Can you imagine every step this guy takes? It has to be like trudging through the thickest mud, right? Each step weighed with what's ahead. And his brain got to be thinking every possible way Pops is going to kill him. Well, not really kill him, but treat him badly, to maybe even hate his son. The younger, even through the thoughts of nasty carrots, keeps going until he hits those familiar sights. And then he notices, man, just one more hill, and the farm comes into view. And now the brain goes into another gear you never knew existed. Your legs feel almost too heavy to keep going. Fear is actually hitting in waves, but it's too late to turn back now. You hit the crest of the hill, and guess who is standing at the front gate and has already seen you? The father, his dad. You freeze. But Dad, not so much. He takes off like a shot, full speed. Man, dang, Pops has got some wheels, bro. I mean, the old man is fast. Oop. Dad is here. He is standing nose to nose with the younger. And the younger braces himself as the father moves out his arms very quickly. Here comes Dad. Here comes the first punch. And man, do I deserve this? But instead, Dad grabs his son and full on hugs the kid. I mean, this is borderline bear hug country we're going into this hug right now. Can you imagine the instant relief he would have in this moment? Yeah, dude, I'm actually not going to die. Even more, the father yells back to the servants, hey, yo, kill the best bull we got. We having barbecue tonight, baby. We gonna party like it's 1999. And remember, Dad's older, so he gets the reference. All these happenings does bring another character into the story. Do you remember him? The older son. The older son, the firstborn. Where the younger son was a dreamer and an adventurous soul, the older was steady and he was loyal. The older looks at his old man and basically says this, come on, Pops. He took his share of the inheritance. He left and he blew it on cherry limeades, mind you, for the fellas. But I stayed. I was loyal to you, to the farm. I worked hard every day for you. And here you are basically going to treat him like a king? He may have mumbled this ain't fair, but we're not sure. But I'm sure he felt it. The father, I think in my story, looks at the older son, gives him a wry little smile, puts his hands on his shoulders, and says this in Luke 15:31-32. My son, the father said, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because your brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and he is found. If you're the older son, what can you say, right? He basically said, you will get the farm and everything on it when I pass away. You have been there for me as I will be there for you. But, and this is a mighty big but, you got your brother's back. Today, I got my son back today. And he is home. In the story I started off with, there was only one here, and it follows the path that the younger son took. You go to the event anyway, crash the party, taking a large amount of money from the parentals to do so. Even after being warned about going, you blow the money, and at the party you get picked on and made to feel unwelcomed and unloved. And now you go home and get the dreaded parental, I told you so. But instead, your parents greet you at the door, no questions asked, and embrace you. I mean, hug you so hard your legs start going numb. In a good way. Then they take you out to Sonic for a cherry limeade and a foot-long chili cheese coney. I mean, the best a man could want. Or girl, or gal, or lady. Love them chili cheese conies. I want to go back, though, to one moment that happens in both stories, and I want to share a bit of my thinking here. We commonly view Jesus in the light of this, hanging on the cross. Arms stretched out in pain and suffering. And even though Jesus' human side suffered on that cross, the God side of Jesus was showing us true love in this moment. I tend to view Jesus very differently. Now, his arms are still outstretched like this, waiting for me, for you, to grab, to embrace, and to welcome you home. When we are willing to give up our selfishness, we can always come home. When we feel we have lost everything and feel desperate, we can always come home. Maybe you are faithful and loyal, and you see others getting the breaks you may feel they don't deserve. Remember, the kingdom is already yours. You have no need to want. But the one thing I feel that Jesus does with those arms wide open is to grab you and give you that heavenly hug, no matter where you are or where you have been. When you make the choice to come home, I love that the Father runs to us, to embrace us. He loves us that much. For each of you are his sons and his daughters. And no matter where you've been, God is always there to welcome you home. With a loving, slightly tight hug. You know, the best kind. Dude, music man, go ahead and play that last song. Because I got to go hug me somebody.